Hmm? Ah! Oh.
Can't be killed, but you don't like germs.
Ugh, awful things, unsanitary. But my question is, now that Faith has brought you back, what are your intentions?
Well, gee, sir, I thought I'd find that Slayer that's given you so much trouble and torture, maim, and kill her.
Fine. It's nice to see you're not one of those slacker types running around town today. Yeah. Torture Buffy. Killing her's fine. Just make it a slow one.
My favorite kind.
Wonderful, wonderful. We don't want a replacement Slayer anytime soon. They can't all turn out like my girl, Faith. Have fun.
Let's do it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Still Slaying, a Buffyverse podcast. I'm Penny.
And I'm Randy.
And I'm Kara. This episode, we're going to be discussing Season 3, Episode 17, Enemies, directed by David Grossman and written by Douglas Petrie. The original air date for this one is March. It'd be helpful if I put the day in there. It was March 16th. I'm going to say that one line again. Okay. The original air date for this one is March 16th, 1999.
So almost St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Some alternative titles in other languages for this episode were Dangerous Games in German, All Against All in Italian, and Treason in French.
I loved how dramatic the French
Yeah.
Treason. Fantastic. So that third voice you're hearing is Randy. Randy guested with us in Season 2. Welcome back to Still Playing.
Yeah, woohoo! I'm back.
We've been plugging Randy's other podcast, Welcome to the Apocalypse, quite a bit.
This is true.
And maybe after hearing how brilliant and hilarious he is today, all of you will go over and download the entire Welcome to the Apocalypse oeuvre.
And of course, there's been an amazing special guest who has popped on there at least once. I won't throw out any spoilers here, but Penny has joined us over there, which has been great.
It's really fun to do. I've never done any kind of improv before. And when I listen back to it, I'm like, am I funny or am I just good at setting other people up to be funny?
You're funny. I listened to your episode. You're funny.
But also setting up jokes is incredibly important.
It's helpful, right?
Yes. Yeah. There are a lot of people who have said the episode you were on is one of their favorites.
Oh,
so
awesome.
I think that's a good sign.
That's fantastic.
I enjoy listening to all these voices that I already know all come together in one. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, it's good when I lose being like, oh, that's Jason, or oh, that's Penny. So,
right.
Yeah. That's good. The Jason and Lucy episode was hilarious. I love it.
Really really a little meta on podcasting. So
yeah, fantastic. All right, let's go back to March 16th, 1999.
Aw, I was about to graduate 5th grade.
Oh,
I was gonna graduate 8th grade.
Oh, you're also a baby.
See?
Yep.
Somebody that's not gonna make people feel as young as me. That works.
Yep.
Let's see. Oh gosh. The number one song in the US at the time was Believe by Cher. And this song had a chokehold on me. I don't know why. I would do my impression of Cher repeatedly. And my mom still, if this song comes on, she's like, turn it off.
Yeah.
We don't need to
that in the 90s. Yeah.
Yep. And then the number one song in the UK was When the Going Gets Tough by Boyzone.
I don't remember that song.
No, not familiar with that one.
I should have listened to it. I meant to. I wanted to hear what that sounded like.
The best-selling books of the year, or sorry, not the year. This is the month, right?
Or the week.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah.
Or the week. Yeah,
It
best-selling books of
depends.
the week.
'Cause 2 days before this, the nonfiction best-selling book was something different. So
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
They were The Testament by John Grisham and Monica's Story by Andrew Morton finally unseats The Greatest Generation by Tom Brokaw in the nonfiction category.
perfect timing.
Yeah. At the US box office, Saving Private Ryan had just brought in 1.8 million.
Oh, so actually, the number one movie is a movie called 8mm.
Oh, I remember this movie.
I
Yes.
did not remember it.
I don't know why yes. That
No,
makes
but
sense.
now looking at it, I was like, yeah, that checks out.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And then for a second, I was like, Randy just knows how much money Saving Private Ryan.
It was a very important week for me as a kid. I memorized what every movie made that week.
Yeah.
So yes, the US box office, number 1 was 8mm. Number 2 was Saving Private Ryan, and number 3 was The Prince of Egypt.
Wow.
Man, that movie did really well for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I
has
remember
been
that
there.
I still
being
haven't
a
seen
big
it.
deal.
I haven't
No, me either, actually.
And I'm surprised that, Prince of Egypt, somewhere Southern Baptist family did not make me watch that movie. But here we are.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So during
Ay,
this
ay, ay.
time, the 2000 presidential race and Senate races were heating up. God, that 2000 election season was insane.
Mhm.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Medicare reform was the talk of the town, and the country was still dealing with processing the Clinton scandal and impeachment trial. Hillary was running for Senate in New York, and I was living in New York at the time. I got to vote for her.
Man.
And I was all excited about that election until later that night when everything turned into just chaos.
Hanging Chad.
Oh, God.
Those darn hanging Chads.
Also happening that week, on March 16th, Sony Online Entertainment releases the EverQuest game for personal computers in the USA. And on March 20th, Legoland California, the first Legoland outside of Europe, opens in Carlsbad, California. I have not been to Legoland.
No, I also
Neither.
would have assumed that started in the US.
Except
I know.
Lego is a Danish company, so their first Legoland was at...
I didn't know that either.
I've been to the Lego headquarters. There's a thing called Lego House that's really close to the Legoland in Denmark. And Lego House is more of like an interactive museum about the origins of Lego, but then it's also about like Lego design and where Lego is going. If you're ever in Denmark, it's a haul. You have to take a train out into the middle of nowhere and then somehow get to Lego House.
Cool.
But it's worth it. It's a really, really cool place to
Do
visit.
they have an exhibit where you can walk barefoot over Lego just to experience it fully?
Yes, it's
I
one
don't
of those,
remember that.
it's just like a bunch of Legos that look like burning coals
Yeah.
in a line.
That would be a really funny exhibit. And then they could set it up so you get a video of yourself doing it.
Right.
They did have an exhibit where you make your own Lego minifigure, and all of us,
cool.
of course, made them look like ourselves. And then you're encouraged to carry your Lego minifigure with you through the rest of the museum and like take pictures of it in different...
Oh, that's clever.
Okay, now I need to do that.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
It was a really, really cool thing to do. I would never have heard about it except that I have a friend who had a friend who worked for Lego in Denmark. And so she was like, oh, my friend wants us to go visit her while we're in Copenhagen. So, we took the train out, she picked us up, she had a car, drove us to the Lego house, showed us around. Like, it was really, really cool.
Nice. Yeah.
All right, let's get into it with our discussion. You gotta have faith is what Kara has written here, which is just really hilarious. But not if you're Angel. Stay strong, Angel. We believe in you.
Sing it.
Yeah,
I
you gotta
put
have
musical
faith,
notes
faith,
there
faith.
every
You gotta have
time.
faith, faith, faith. I didn't sing one of the other ones that you put on the agenda because I didn't know the tune. But this one,
The Bad Girls song?
yeah, I know I know George Michael backwards and forwards. I was a
fair.
huge George Michael fan. Before we all knew he was gay, I had a huge crush on him, and then after that, I was just a fan of his music.
That's fair.
So, since Randy is our guest, Randy, you get to start off the discussion.
All right. Well, I feel like the last time I was here, I brought this up as well, but I feel like it's worth continuing this conversation. One of the things that stuck out for me in this episode was the creepy undertones of older men and younger women.
Yeah, it never goes away.
Yeah.
No.
What is it? I think I actually recoiled when the mayor said something to Faith about, like, you should put
Yes.
your hair back. You have such a pretty face. I was like, no.
Yeah.
See, that was like the one thing I didn't find creepy, because that was so something a parent would say.
Well, I did think, like, I think my grandma used to say that to me, like, get your hair out of your face.
Yeah.
But
it's still
it's his demeanor.
Yeah, and like a feeling of like controlling her and like
Yeah.
there was, I mean, in mix with everything else, it feels icky.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Mhm.
We've got Angel and Buffy, which is just the ongoing one.
Yep.
But then now Angel and Faith a little bit.
Ugh.
Yep.
We've got Wesley and Cordelia,
Oh,
which
God.
I feel like Angel and Buffy and Angel and Faith, because they're slayers, I feel like there's like some weirdness there, and they tend to be off on their own. But like Wesley and Cordelia keep happening in front of other people and other adults. I feel like somebody needs to shut that down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what
Xander
does Xander
is totally
say?
fun.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
just like,
yeah.
I love when you talk, Wesley. I love when you sing, Wesley. Can you say the words jailbait, Wesley?
Right,
What does he say,
yeah.
like, limey bastard? I was like, yeah, Xander, that's a fair point.
Yeah. And what he has
Yeah.
another line,
Legit.
and on that day, the words flimsy excuse were redefined forever. With
Yeah.
Cordelia's whole like asking Wesley out to help her with an English paper.
Yeah, which
Mhm.
felt also like like they were giving her oddly older choices in that matter. Like, I don't know what high school student would be like, I prefer studying at a nice dining establishment. Like, I could see her saying something like, I mean, it would make it worse, but if she was like, "Oh, I prefer studying in my bedroom," or
Yeah,
like,
or like,
Yeah.
what
there's
about your place or something
yeah,
like that?
something. There's
Yeah.
something weird about like turning
Because
it into an adult
Cordelia
date.
is
Yeah.
a 25-year-old woman.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just, she is not giving teen energy
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. She certainly
So-
doesn't dress like a teenager.
Right,
No,
yeah.
That's true.
And I do, Giles seems like he is a little bit like, yeah, she's a high schooler, which it doesn't, I don't know. I feel like maybe at the time it played better as like a joke, but in retrospect, it just feels like nobody's doing what they should be doing in this
Yeah.
situation, which makes
When
it
you're
super
an
awkward.
adult, it makes it feel a little off. Like, the more
Yeah.
removed from high school you are.
Right.
Because I remember even rewatching it in college, I was just like, that's fair. Like, some of my professors are pretty attractive. I wouldn't do that, but still. And now I'm just like, oh God, this
Yeah.
is
Well,
creepy.
even-
It's even more funny because Wesley is such a dork. And it's
Yeah.
like, what is Cordelia attracted to? Just
He's-
his like
The
adultness.
accent.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Giles is British and has an act, like, maybe because he's the authority figure that she associates with school, and then Wesley comes in. But
I mean, she calls
arguably,
him Giles the next
Giles is
generation when she
much
meets
more
him.
attractive. That's true. I guess Giles is a little older.
He's just younger,
Wesley.
yeah. And is he technically supposed to be in charge, like, in the
Of
Watcher's
Buffy.
view? Yeah.
Of
So I
Buffy,
also wonder if she's attaching herself to, like, the new authority, because that gives her some power as well, but...
I think also knowing that it's bothering Xander.
Yeah.
is a big part of it for her.
Yep.
It's fair.
Like, she's like, I think she goes out of her way to be into Wesley in front of Xander. Like, she's like, I'm just gonna rub it in here a
Yeah.
little bit, dude, that you don't get to be with me anymore because you suck.
Yeah.
They had to work pretty hard to make Alexis Denisof not hot because he is so good looking in real life.
And he's not as goofy.
Yeah.
Which that's not necessarily like, because Goofy can be attractive.
Yeah.
But it's the way he plays it.
It's the primness.
As Wesley. Yeah, that's
Right.
probably what it. There's just something about it where I'm just like, Cordy, what? Like, what is the appeal here? Because he's kind of weaselly when we first meet him.
Oh yeah, he's a weenie.
I mean, to each their own, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's mysterious.
I'm in Wesley's group. There is only the one group, and I am in it.
It's just so special. But there is like that whole scene, the opening scene when Buffy and Angel come out of that movie, which I guess is not a real movie. And she said, what does she say? That one line, she's like, do you want to get some hot chocolate? Or some cold shower?
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, clearly, I'm glad they acknowledge it in the show because there is a lot of tension between them. There's been a lot of visible tension between them. And it's nice that they finally articulate it.
Yeah.
And it just, but it still reminded me that Angel was like a 200-something-year-old.
Yeah, especially when he's like, oh, I haven't been to the movies in a long time. And it's like, oh, how long? Like 60 years?
Right? Right? It's like, was it when the talkies first started?
Right.
Like, what is...
And like, why haven't you been to the movies? It's a perfect place to avoid sunlight, dude.
Yeah,
if
right?
I were a vampire, I would just go and have movie marathons all the time during the day.
It's because Angel doesn't do anything when he's not on screen. He's a Ken. He just like, when Buffy's not around, he's just standing, staring at a wall.
This
moping.
Ken's job is brooding.
He's brooding. This Ken's job is mope.
Yeah. And occasionally creepy watching.
Yeah. I lurk and I mope. And I mope while I lurk.
Reference watching her sleep or something in this episode too?
Yeah, he says she's so cute when she's asleep or something when they knock her out.
When she's unconscious. And it's just like, oh yeah, you used to do that too.
Yeah.
That's
well, that sort of brings up a question I'm wondering if you guys have some answers to, because I have watched the show in its entirety, but I'm not keeping up with it while you guys are podcasting. I've been reliving it through your podcast. And I think the question of like, what causes Angel to lose his soul? I feel like in this episode, they're really hammering that it's actually sex.
But I don't think it is.
It's not.
It's supposed to be like a true moment of happiness, right?
Yeah, we talked about this, that in the episode where he loses his soul, he doesn't lose his soul during sex or at the moment of climax. He loses his soul afterward when Buffy is asleep in his arms and
like
he feels this moment of contentment and her complete trust in him. That's the moment.
Loving her is clearly not enough. It's that true moment of happiness, but because everybody knew that they had sex and then he becomes jealous and loses his soul, it's like that's what people focus on.
But I think
because even Xander was just like makes that gross comment about giving him a happy and then
I mean, because they're discussing pretty like directly in this episode that they can't do anything to like satiate their needs, which but then they still have like a passion-filled happy kiss, and I'm like, that's not enough to do it.
Maybe if they never let themselves this is gonna sound kind of corny, go into the physical expression of love, if they don't give into that aspect of their relationship, maybe Angel doesn't have that true moment of
Right. He's still holding back and
Yeah. And as long as he is sort of conscious at the moment that he can't be truly happy, then he can always keep himself away from it. The problem that
He can stay tortured.
when they had sex was that he afterward really did relax and feel content. Also, he didn't know
Poor guy.
about the catch to the curse, so he wasn't able to like shield himself. But I don't think that if Faith had managed to seduce him that he would have lost his soul.
But it's still super creepy for the mayor to be like encouraging her to have sex with Angel. Like, even if you, no matter which way you look at it, if you look at his kind of fatherly role that he grows into with her, it's like, atta girl, like, go.
Yep.
Get him.
And again, it's like they're literally, it's implied that he's a very old person as well. So it's like these like couple 100-year-old guys being like, go get him. Like,
go have sex with a different old man. Like, and then tell me about it. Like,
I don't know how much of it is intended in the script or in their portrayal, because Eliza Dushku is just such a like sexy person. She has chemistry with a fence post. So I can't tell if I'm reading more into it when she's with the mayor, but I do think she kind of, because of her character, Faith seems to be used to, you know, either using men or using her body to try to get what she wants. And we see her in the last episode kind of bring out that flirtation when she calls the mayor sugar daddy. But it's interesting, like, once you take even a second to think critically about what's going on, it just makes it so icky.
I think this episode is pivotal for their relationship, because I think in the beginning, she's still in a place of like, this is my boss and I might have to manipulate him to get what I want. And I think by the end, when they have the miniature golf conversation, that she is like, she's starting to accept him in a different way as a father figure. I think this is the episode where that shifts. I think he was always going to be paternal to her. I don't think he has sexual desires anymore. I don't think that's part of who he is.
Oh, yeah.
And so his like wholesome, you know, I love Cub Scouts even though I'm going to eat them routine is static across the board. And it's when Faith starts to accept it from him that they develop this love. But when she's still trying to like flirt with him and stuff, he's arm's lengthening her. He's like, nope, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think that later in the season he would have sent her to have sex with Angel. I think his desire to protect her is starting in this episode.
That's true, because he makes that comment that is like pretty threatening when he's like, you know, if you fail me, and it just kind of trails off. He's like, well, replacing Mr. Trick was hard enough, but that is intense. So by the end of this episode and into the next few, his attachment to her definitely grows. He sees her in a different light, which is good for Faith, I guess. Bad for everybody else around them.
Yeah, it's like the father figure / Giles that she needed, she just got from the wrong person.
He's evil Giles.
Yes,
Since we're talking about their relationship, I want to play a clip that I think is hilarious.
You know what I wish? I wish you'd pull your hair back. I know, fashion isn't exactly my thing, but gosh darn it, you know, you've got such a nice face. I can't understand why you hide it.
Yeah. Sure. Whatever. It's just a matter of time before this demon guy's gonna spill. Then Buffy and the Super Friends are gonna...
You worry too much for a girl your age. That's unnecessary stress. Luckily, I've got just the thing.
He has a carafe of milk on his sideboard, which is hilarious.
That is so gross.
Yeah.
Now, first you load up on calcium, then find this demon, kill the heck out of him, and bring the books to me.
And if Buffy gets to him first?
Oh, well, Frankly, I don't like to think about that. I like good, positive, up thoughts. If you failed me in that way, well, replacing Mr. Trick was chore enough. Oh, come on, don't worry. Drink up. There's nothing uncool about healthy teeth and bones.
God.
It's the constant mixture.
That little chuckle.
And where he's like, find that demon, kill the heck out of him. In his like goofy, avuncular voice, the mix of violence and wholesomeness is
leave
so
it to
well
Beaver.
done. Yeah.
Like I hear Ward Cleaver in there
Yep.
a little bit. And then he just says something kind of unhinged and sinister at the same time. Like the line he says where, there's more than one way to skin a cat, which I have heard like my grandparents say so many times. And then he throws in, and I happen to know that's factually true. And you're just like, oh shit.
He has skinned many cats. Ew.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's, a good level of off-putting, but like delivered in a nice package so you can, in your own mind, be like, no, I mean, the way he said it, it's got to be okay, right?
It's joking.
Brilliantly played.
Yeah. It does leave him with the room. I mean, I know they're not going this way, but that type of like interaction with somebody allows you to be like, oh no, I was kidding. They took it too seriously.
Yep. He's a very good little manipulator.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a politician.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense. But he just, I don't know. This season is so well written because it makes so much sense that Faith would fall for this and that she would become attached to him once he starts to play that parental role and that mentor role that she so desperately wants to be, like Buffy to a certain extent and wants to be the favorite, but she can never surpass Buffy in that way, especially in Giles's eyes. And so now she has this accepting figure, and we hear a little bit more about her mom and her childhood in this episode, and it was rough. So it comes together very nicely story-wise, and then there's just a basis in reality to it that makes it so much more impactful. Because God, everybody's just so three-dimensional and fleshed out.
And it's at the same time that partly because of the mayor, she's got this solid division with all of the people who were her support. So he has like set her up in a way to fully isolate herself from them so that he is now all that she has, but he's also giving her what she wants. So it's the start of a very abusive relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
And the toxic positivity is a real trigger for me. I hate that like good vibes only and only have positive thoughts and all that stuff, because it's so often used in our society to shut down truth. Right? It's like, don't say negative stuff, and it's like, but that happened. Like,
right.
The fact that it's negative is actually kind of your fault. Like, yeah. It's like people who don't watch the news because they don't want to know bad news, and it's like, well, then you're surrendering your political power because you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, another bad thing we need to discuss is his serving of room temperature milk.
Yeah, let's talk about that. That is nasty.
It's so gross.
Like,
that I think is the
gross. Why have a carafe of milk on your credenza in your office? Lots of lawyers, right, have liquor there. And it's funny to have milk instead of liquor, but like they could have given him a mini fridge or something.
I really think that's what it was. It was something in the writer's room being like, well, what could he have instead of like whiskey or scotch?
Yeah, what's
like
wholesome?
What would the mayor have? And what's more wholesome than a glass of milk?
Yeah.
But
at least pull it out of a thing of ice or something. It's just
like instead of like a champagne chiller or something, they'll have like a milk.
And I get that they were making a joke on the like stereotypical like Scotch decanter, but they could have made a different joke with the little tiny cartons of milk that you get when you're in elementary school.
Yep. So he like opens it for him, puts a straw in.
Yeah.
Like he's
funny.
at the
Like
same
apple
time
juice.
he's at the same time asking her to do these terrible adult things, but then treating her like a child.
Yeah.
And that combo is really interesting and creepy and
Ugh.
menacing. And but yeah, because the milk is so odd that I was in my head, I was like, oh wait, is there something about the milk? Because it just like it stands out so much that I was like, does something happen if somebody drinks it? And I don't think that's
No,
what
it's
happens at
just
all,
meant to
but it's
be like a symbol of his
weird.
wholesome side.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, I was like, is it regular milk?
Yeah.
Or is it like from something
Like a
else?
demon's milk?
Yeah,
Or
like
Oh,
some
gross.
giant
yeah.
like snake venom.
If it had
Yeah.
been made now, they might have made it blue milk just to do a
Yeah.
little like Star Wars
Yeah.
reference.
Wink. Maybe that's why I had this thought this time, since yesterday was May the 4th.
Oh
I
yeah.
was just like, oh, what kind of milk is that? Oh,
Alien
jeez.
milk.
Yum.
Gross.
Like room temperature. Anyway, I can't think about it anymore. But that is one of the most disgusting things I could imagine.
It puts hair on your thorax.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, vile. So vile. But a great scene between the two of them, and
Mhm.
you can see that she is still sort of not buying his shtick, right? She's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And
True.
at the end of
Yeah.
the episode, she's like laughing at his dumb dad jokes. So
Yep.
There are so many excellent like little one-liners in this episode and little quips. I had a hard time writing them all down. Like I
Yeah.
started and I was like, nope, there's just too many.
There's
Like
too
one of
many.
my favorite things that Giles says, and he's just like, "Ugh, demons after money." He's like, whatever happened to the still being part of a virgin? No one has standards.
And you say this demon wanted cash? That's very unusual.
Demons after money. Whatever happened to the still beating heart of a virgin? No one has any standards anymore.
Giles is so
love it.
sassy in this episode.
He
I love it.
is.
I love it. He
Sassy
is.
Giles is great.
I think he is. There's a part of him that is sort of enjoying being this like elder statesman set off to the side and watching Wesley flounder trying to lead the group. I
yeah.
think he finds it really entertaining.
It's kind of like a I told you so.
Yeah. And it seems like he's got a whole plan going on in the background that you're not really aware of until the end anyways. So it does in retrospect, you're like, oh, he's just watching all of this and being like, everything you're doing is pointless and moot.
Yeah.
Like, I've
That's
got this
true.
under control already.
Yeah, totally. It's so great. I love snarky Giles almost as much as I love band candy, like semi-ripper
Giles.
Giles. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Well, and-
so it shows his intelligence, his ability to be
That's true.
funny in that particular way is a thing
Mhm.
only really bright people can do.
Mhm.
Yeah. He is very clever. And I will say this this episode also has one of my favorite parts of the entire series when we think Angelus is back. And Xander is like, "Ta-da-da," like they see him on the street and he's just like, hey, like talking, and Angel just hauls off and punches him in the face. He's like, that guy just bugs me. And knowing that he did that as Angel
Yep.
makes it so much better.
It's so funny. And you know
Every
that like
time.
Angel is annoyed by Xander the same way
Yep.
everyone is. And he
Yeah.
usually just is like above it all.
It's so satisfying.
But he had the opportunity and he took it.
Which is, yeah, it's funny to be like, well, literally the first opportunity he did. So it's like,
Yep.
how much has he been holding back?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just going off on him.
And it's beautiful. He and Faith do not break stride. Like
Mhm.
he just
Right.
and it's to the side and Xander is completely knocked out and they just keep walking without a hitch. And
Yep.
it so brings home how much stronger a vampire is than a human. Like just like bam. And
Yep.
Faith doesn't even turn to look. Like she's
No.
like,
Mhm.
She
like
doesn't
she's written
flinch.
Xander off completely. And she doesn't care. Even though she
Yeah.
slept with him, she's like, Yeah. I have Angel now. He's way hotter.
That bitch bugs me. I hate watching Faith and Angel together.
Oh yeah.
It drives me insane.
It's
And
painful.
it just, because they do have, a certain amount of chemistry. And poor Buffy, like everybody can relate to be like, oh, am I missing something here? Am I reading too much into this? Like when she goes and talks to Willow after seeing them together. And I do like how Buffy's like, no, you're right. Faith would never do something like that. And she's like, she would totally do something.
Yes.
Faith would totally do that. And Faith was built to do that. She's the do that girl. Comfort. Remember Comfort here? I mean, please. Does Angel come up to Faith's standards for a guy? Let's see. Is he breathing? Actually, no.
Technically.
I love that moment because Willow is it's another example of Willow being just a fantastic friend, right?
Yeah.
She's like, you need to just ask him directly. And I love the line,
It's
I too have
true.
known the love of a taciturn man, and you have to look at their actions. And it's so true. Like Oz doesn't talk a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Angel he's not very forthcoming with his emotions, but
But she's spot on about him. He would not do that to Buffy.
Never.
Or go there with Faith. Like he sees right through her. He empathizes with her to a certain extent, but he knows what she's doing. Like he's not an idiot, but Buffy is a teenage girl.
Right.
Yeah.
Which you have to remind yourself.
Yep.
It makes complete sense that this is what she would be getting from that.
And
she
Yeah.
the
doesn't
scene
understand.
that she saw did look kind of
Oh, yeah.
intimate between the two of them because Faith was actively trying to seduce Angel. So Buffy's instincts were not wrong. It's just that, her insecurity about Angel.
But then there's also some recontextualizing of that scene at the end when you realize that she was in on the fact that Angel was sort of faking to get
I don't think that she was in on it
I don't
yet.
think she knew at that
Okay.
point.
Okay.
I think she went and confronted him to talk about it directly and then talked to Giles or something. They realized what was going on and they're like, well, let's use this to our advantage.
I think about
Okay.
this a lot. Like, what is the timeline of when they knew what? And I think they were suspicious about Faith's actions, but not certain. And that wizard or whatever that guy is came to Giles and was like, hey, somebody in this town is trying to hire me to take a soul away from this guy Angel. And Giles was like, oh no. And the guy was like, they have like an inside person who's going to help with it. And Giles was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. And they concocted this whole plan. And that's how they got confirmation about Faith's role. That
makes sense.
Yeah.
Also, a very lucky break.
Yeah.
Right? That this shaman happened to just owe Giles.
Yeah.
Like I introduced him to his wife. Like,
that's one of the points I had about this episode and this show in general is the fact that they sometimes treat the monsters and demons as if they're like normal, like they have day-to-day lives as well.
Yeah.
Especially the demon that shows up in the beginning and wants to give them the books, and he just wants money for it because he needs to travel. It costs money to travel.
He wants to get out of
town.
town.
Are you nuts going around punching people? And they give him a look. He's like, what? So I'm a demon, so it's okay?
Right, yeah.
And Faith has one of her great funny lines.
Cash, princess. 5 large for the whole set.
So you can buy, I'm guessing here, some skincare products?
And just the normalizing of all of those people. And like as he's trying to pack to leave, he's got like a fish tank that he wants to take with him. You're like, oh, he has a fish that he cares about. And like,
did you see a fish in there?
There's something in there. I don't know if it was a fish. So I was wondering if he was gonna just drink it or something.
Yeah, and then I was like, maybe that's how he reproduces. Maybe his babies are in there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It really it opens up the realm for like wondering what goes on when you're not seeing all of these characters on screen. Like, in order for an entire demonic society to exist, there have to be guys like this who aren't just like, I want to take over the world, because everybody can't take over the world. So
Just
there
your
has to be just
regular
like,
Joe.
yeah.
And
Demon.
this show, I think the success of it in this scene, in this episode, led to so many more seeing demons as people scenes in the future. We get a lot of it in Angel, especially.
I think it's also important in terms of the story and, you know, Faith's story arc, because this demon is humanized to us. Like, he's got a personality, he's got a pet, maybe. Like, and watching her kill him feels almost more intense than watching her stab Alan.
Yeah.
And in that scene, you know, she's in the throes of fighting and it's essentially an accident, but she makes an intentional choice this time. Like, this is straight up murder. There's no question about it. And the fact that we get to know him a little bit more makes us feel that more intensely. And I hate that scene. I hate it when she goes. I don't like rewatching it because it feels more sinister.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, she's almost all the way gone now.
Yeah. It's not a cartoony, violent scene at all. It's very premeditated and it's very violent.
Yeah. Yep. Especially he starts fighting back bit. Like, they could have ended with him being stabbed once and that's over, but that's not real.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that she has to do it over and over, it's
and
tough.
He doesn't just, you know, disintegrate before your eyes like a vampire. You can't dust him. It feels, and the fact that it's a stabbing,
it's so intimate,
so much more personal and up close. Like, that is not an easy way.
And
to
the fact
go.
that he didn't put up much of a fight, and like, when he grabs her foot and you hear the roar that you usually hear with like a vampire, I was like, oh, okay, he does put up a fight, but no, that's it. He just like,
it's not much.
So
you
he's
almost
just
expected
innocent.
him to transform into a scarier demon, but he's just this little guy. He's like a low level, like, you know, bookish, nerdy demon who sells, you know, used books.
Which his attempt to like haggle on the price is pretty funny, since he's not basing his sale off of the contents of the books. He's basing it off of like the condition.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know what's in these, right? Like, nobody cares if the pages are a little curled, but he thinks that's an important thing in this grand scheme of things.
It makes me think he like has like a used book business.
Yeah.
And
that's what's
door to
important
door
to him.
selling like encyclopedias,
or he sells to
like
magicians and wizards and demons, like, you know, magical tomes.
I did wonder though why he wasn't gonna like drive or take a bus out. Although this is 99, so I guess security at airports wouldn't have been nearly as intense, but I just imagine he would have a hard time getting on a plane.
Yeah, unless there's some kind of demon airline.
Oh yeah. There, you know what? There probably is.
Yeah.
For the ones that can't like teleport or anything like that.
But a bus would make more sense because anybody can get on a Greyhound, and
right.
I've ridden on some Greyhounds with anybody.
Or like he's coming back from Comic-Con or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Some sort of convention.
They are in Comic-Con country, so that would make sense.
Ugh, that poor guy.
God.
Yeah, I think I pulled us away though from the timeline question.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's unclear when Buffy has the time to, you know, talk to Giles and form a plan and talk to Angel, and like when all that happens, we don't get to see any of it, which is great for the fake out, right? Because I know that the first time I watched this, I was like, oh no, like Angelus is back. I didn't see that coming, and
then
they
when
totally snowed me.
What is it? Oh, when Faith says, "What can I say? I'm the world's best actor," and Angel, without like missing a beat, just goes second best, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, what?
I was so relieved. Though.
I couldn't quite remember if that's what happened, but in my mind I kept being like, I feel like he's faking this.
Yeah.
I think he's
This can't
which,
be happening.
but it was convincing. I was like, all right, I know Angelus probably pops up a couple more times, so this could be one of them, but it was a good twist for sure.
Yeah, fantastic. And the
Well,
light show that they had the shaman guy put on was pretty
Yes.
Yeah.
awesome. It looked
That was
really good, and
fantastic.
having Faith like throw the blood on him made with the white tank top, like it looked awesome. Like he's like
Mhm.
covered in blood with his Angelus face, and he grabs her and starts kissing her really passionately. I was like, that is awesome and scary. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
I think that's actually the more convincing part, is the fact that he kisses Faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if he had just like attacked somebody, I'd be like, yeah, he's probably faking, but
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
seems like one of the lines he wouldn't have crossed, so that made it more
Yeah.
convincing.
And then
Ugh.
later when he's kissing Faith in front of Buffy and Buffy is
Mhm.
having the hardest time looking at it, Sarah Michelle Gellar does a great job of being like sort of like
Face acting.
looking away but also keeping one eye on them and then looking away, and how
Yeah.
uncomfortable she is. And it's a completely different watch when you watch it the second time, because the first time you're like, oh, this is so painful for her, like
Mhm.
Angelus is back and he's with Faith, she's been betrayed by these two important people in her life. And then the second
Yeah.
time you watch it, you're like, oh my god, she asked him to do this and she's watching it and it's horrible. There's like a whole other
Yeah.
level of pain going on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Unreal. Oh my god.
Well, and he just, I mean, they also, as she's doing it, it's not like it looks like they're not into it or he's not
Mhm.
Oh, he's
enjoying
very
himself.
convincing.
So it's just like, oh, this is the reality hitting of what that happens to look like. And then
Right.
just I'm not gonna lie though, I have a lot of satisfaction at the fact that Xander saying "I told you so" happened to be completely wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
like, ha.
Haha,
Yep.
Xander. What? And he was so pleased to be able to say it. And then later he has that great line like, it's a good
Oh
bruise.
yeah.
Yeah.
That makes it so much better.
Yeah. His animosity toward Angel is a really steady through line on the show. Like he never
Mhm.
really warms up to Angel. There's like a moment in season 4 where he's like kind of okay with Angel, but only because Angel's not gonna stay in town. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, after getting punched by him and then finding out he wasn't
Yeah.
Angelus, he's probably like, yeah, I don't think he likes me either.
Yeah. Yeah. We seem to be on the same page about this one
Yeah.
thing. Like we are not friends.
So one of the things I was like, in TV shows, I really dislike the somebody sees something and they interpret it as something else.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Which we see Buffy seeing Angel and Faith together, and I was like, oh, I really am not a fan of these storylines. But then when she does talk to Willow, and Willow like basically states all the things she states, that like saved it for me. The fact that she was like, well, I think this is going on, and Willow wasn't just like, no, you should break up
Yeah.
with him. She was just like, go confront and ask what actually happened. Why are
Yeah.
you doing this? And it's like, thank you, somebody in the show is
Yes.
saying what we're saying. Like,
Yeah.
It's real. It's
Yeah.
realistic that your friend would be like, okay, so when you talked to him about this,
Yeah.
what did he say? Instead of it turning into this sideline of
Like
them
Three's
both
Company
spiraling and
misunderstanding. Yeah, I
that
Yeah.
agree.
drives
That's
me insane.
it can be a really lazy way to write. I feel like they use it
Mhm.
self-consciously here. They're like, let's
Yeah,
have Buffy
very
make a
much.
wrong assumption, just like it's Three's Company, and then Willow
Yeah.
will like send her on the right path.
Yeah.
And it helps
Yeah.
sell the twist later too, because you're like, oh, even Buffy thinks this is something
Yes.
real, but we don't see the in between.
Yeah.
So
Such great story structure.
yeah.
I'm constantly
Really is.
amazed at this 42-minute show and how much they can pack in an episode.
Mhm.
There's so many things happen, and character development happens in these like single sentences
Yeah.
where characters take a leap or something changes that's important to the overall story, and it happens so quickly and so densely.
Yeah.
But the show doesn't feel dense.
No, it does feel light.
Yeah.
Like coming into it, you don't.
Yeah.
There's so much to unpack, but it doesn't feel like you've read a 20,000 page novel or something.
Right. And it's not like, other shows I podcast about, like Yellow Jackets. Every episode of Yellow Jackets is like,
gosh,
I gotta sit with that. And it's like,
yeah.
Did I catch everything? How many different plot lines are happening? And like, it's an intense show. And we've talked about this. It's written, the writing is different on shows that are going to be on streaming because they count on the audience rewinding and rewatching. So they can be more subtle and they can be more packed with, subtext, and they could just have more stories going on. Buffy is from another era, and it's actually kind of a relief sometimes watching it to prepare for this podcast because I'm gonna be podcasting about Shōgun, and
gosh,
it's just dense, 10 hours of dense, intense story, and prepping for it has been pretty overwhelming. And then I was like, ooh, I could prep for Buffy.
Yeah. And you're right that it's not like there's not a lot there. There's still so much substance to this episode that we learn. We learn about, the Ascension and what's coming and how it wiped out a whole city at one point in time. And, Angel, when he's with Faith in the mayor's office and he hurls that letter opener at him and it goes through his hand, he pulls it out and it's just fine. Like, that's a lot of information that is being thrown at us, but it's so digestible that you hardly notice.
I think the episodic structure where there is sort of a single storyline that you can grasp onto for that one episode maybe helps, and everything else is just sort of built off of that. Whereas like if you're not having to think about the last episode unless it gets shown to you, basically. And then you're like, oh, right, that thing. Whereas with the streaming shows, you have to like maintain a strong memory episode to episode, or it might not make sense. So
and you spend your whole time watching like Game of Thrones. I'd always be like, wait, whose Bannerman is that?
Oh my gosh.
Are they related to the other people? Like you needed like a cheat sheet.
I
think it took me my like second rewatch through the series, maybe into season 3, to finally feel comfortable knowing people's names and where they were and how they were connected. And it is refreshing to watch Buffy and get a solid, intelligent, well-crafted story that doesn't feel like a chore sometimes to get through.
It never feels like homework to watch it. It's always like it's always nice and fun and light, and even when
it's this freaking dark.
And that's why the experiment with Jason, where he just watched that one episode out of the middle of nowhere, and he was still able to like follow it, enjoy it, understand the characters, like it worked. But I would never drop someone in the middle of Game of Thrones. It'd be like, oh,
have fun.
Watch this. That's the Red Wedding, and the reason that you care about these people, like you can't do that. So
Red Wedding would be a terrible episode to draw people in. It's like, have fun figuring this shit out.
Who are all these people? Oh well.
It doesn't matter for very long.
Although now I kind of want to watch the Red Wedding.
I know.
It's slightly masochistic.
It's a great episode, but you have to have watched everything before it to get there.
I'll just watch season 1 again. Stop there.
When I reread the Game of Thrones books, sometimes when I need a little bit of comfort, I'll reread a book that I like, that I've already read and that I like, but I only read the Arya and Sansa chapters. I just skip through and just read like those 2 storylines and just skip everything else, and I'm like happy.
It's like a choose your own adventure book.
I'm like, what's Sansa up to?
Right.
Gosh, I'm not gonna lie. If I've been having a rough week, I watch. Spoiler alert for Game of Thrones. If somebody out there still hasn't watched it and cares, but the episode where Ramsay basically gets torn apart by
Oh
his
yeah.
Yeah,
hounds,
That's
that
like
is.
I have
the best
sought that
karma
one out
ever.
before.
Yep.
Yeah. Also,
Yep.
Joffrey's demise is
Oh,
a real
yes.
satisfying one.
I
Yeah.
cheered in that episode like I was watching a World Series game.
Yeah.
Like, it was fantastic. Anyway, this is not a Game of Thrones podcast,
Yep.
but still,
But
like,
still, yeah.
Yeah.
Angel at the end of this one too, and without getting into spoilers, this episode also sets up a lot of really important stuff, not just for the end of this season, but into future seasons and the show Angel.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But when Angel asks Buffy, "Are you still my girl?" and she says always and walks out, it's supposed to be like, on paper that sounds like a nice reassuring,
Yeah.
exchange, but when they portray it, I was just like, "Oh crap, this is gonna be
Yeah.
painful." Like,
And the way that he asks and the way that she asks is the way she answers, it makes it sound like she doesn't have a choice. Right?
mhm,
Not like, yes, I'll
Yeah,
always
like
love
they're
you,
destined.
but like
yep.
always. Yep. We're gonna be stuck in this dynamic forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
True.
Poor Buffy. Yeah, she's like, I know you
Mhm.
did exactly what I asked you to do. I just need a break. Like, this is all too intense. And I'm like, good for you, like, recognizing that
Yep.
because,
And I love that they do that because
Mhm.
there's no way that Buffy would just be able to snap back into
No.
normal.
Especially knowing that like watching him and Faith together and
Mhm.
the things that they're doing are things he and Buffy can't do.
yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
even like she can go in and be like, "Yes, but you
Yes.
enjoy this with me more." It's like she just has to
Ugh,
let that sit. So, yeah, she would probably need time to herself to
that's so
come to
much more
terms with that.
painful. I don't know why I never even thought about that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, is when she's straddling him, is that in front of Buffy
No, that
or
happens right
that's
after he
different?
turns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that part in particular, I'm just like, fuck you, Faith.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That, well, if we're
Yeah.
Yep.
editing, but that makes me so ragey.
So before we get too far into Angel and Faith and what happens with them in front of Buffy, I want to revisit
Mhm.
the first scene when Faith goes to Angel and tries to seduce him.
Mhm.
Look, I can be here for you, but not like that, all right? I'm with Buffy.
Buffy. Yeah. I didn't mean it like that. Maybe I did. But I wouldn't press it. You love her, don't you?
I love her.
Good for you. The two of you. You're lucky. We're friends.
We're friends.
Then I'm lucky too. I better go.
Where?
I need to cool down. Spend some time alone. Don't worry about me. You've been a big help. Just knowing somebody cares. Hey, I know I shouldn't be asking this, but do you think if things were different, that things between you and me would be different too?
We'll never know.
Right. How could we?
Take care of yourself.
Lifetime of practice.
I love that scene.
Watching it feels like there's a lot of sexual tension there to me,
Mhm.
but listening to it and how breathy both of them are talking in hushed tones, I was like, should I be listening to this? This is very like intimate.
Mhm.
And I know that Faith is doing that she is intentionally trying to seduce him and saying things that she thinks will help her get to that point. And Angel's not exactly, a loud talker, but it's just, it makes me so
But
uncomfortable.
he shuts her down
Yeah.
really well.
Nicely.
Yeah, he's kind about it, but
Yeah.
the conversation, like, if things were different, would we be different? And he's like,
Yeah.
we'll never know.
We'll never know.
Yep.
The temptation,
Like, I'm not playing.
yeah.
Yeah.
The temptation
It's a
would
good
be
response.
to comfort the person by being like, yeah, probably, or
Maybe.
maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't even entertain it a little bit with her, or she won't ever let it go.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think Angel is, I don't know, I was going to say a good guy. That seems to simplify it, but he is loyal as hell.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's,
Yeah.
he loves Buffy. He's also got 200 plus years of quote unquote life experience. So,
and he's also got a ton of experience with manipulative women, right? Darla and Drusilla are
like
both
next
messed up.
level.
And
like Faith has nothing
Yeah.
on Drew or Darla.
Yeah.
So it's just like Angel patting Faith on the head, like, nice try. No.
Yeah. You're literally trying high school tactics on me.
Yes.
So
literally.
the word loyal reminds me that Willow Vamp Willow called him the puppy in the episode The Wish. And then in this episode, Faith compares him to a dog again. And she talks about how she wanted a dog when she was a kid, so she would have something to love, and then she like pats Angel possessively in front of Buffy. And I was like, I wonder how he feels about being compared to a dog
He's like,
all
why
the
do
time.
why do people keep doing this? What is it about me?
I mean, he does follow Buffy around lurking quite a bit, but I don't think it's like a puppy necessarily. Or a dog. It's like,
sort of like a creepy uncle.
Yeah. I mean, he's a predator.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
He just happens to fall in love with Buffy while he's preying on her.
When she was 15, when she was sitting there in her little, cute outfit, she can't drive yet. She's waiting for her mom to pick her up, and she's got this lollipop. That will never not be creepy.
Yeah.
Like,
well, when he was turned into a vampire, wouldn't somebody her age technically be of marrying age?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But ew, that was never a good thing either.
That's true.
That's so gross.
It's just so fun. I mean, I get it, kind of, but when you take 2 seconds to think about it, it just starts to.
It gets gross.
Yeah, sometimes I go there in my head and think about it too much, and I'm like, oh, he's even grosser than Edward on Twilight.
Yeah.
Right, because at least Edward was frozen when he was 17.
Yeah.
Like, that is when, anyway.
Yeah.
It's still enjoyable. And it's not like it prevents me from being all in on Angel and Buffy stuff. Like, their relationship playing out, I don't know what it's their face acting.
Yeah.
Because I feel so invested, and both of them are so expressive that it seems real, that it is paining them to go through this. And I gotta say, like, the dynamics between Sarah Michelle Gellar, Eliza Dushku, and David Boreanaz are addictive to watch.
Yeah.
They're all so good. I wish we had more of them together.
Yeah. There's chemistry in every direction.
Yep.
And when Faith kisses Buffy on the head, is it on the head or no, on the cheek? And
no, it's on the forehead.
Is it on the
The kill me, you become me, you're not ready for that
That's
yet.
right.
Yep.
I love that whole fight
forehead
scene
kiss.
and how they end up in that symmetrical pose with the weapons. It's
both of them choosing not to kill the other,
Yeah.
basically.
It's such beautiful
That was
choreography. I love it so much.
Yeah.
is
I think if
very
the
well
show was
done.
written now, that might have become more of a love triangle
Yeah.
as opposed to
Yeah.
what's
Well,
going on there.
Even back then, there's so much like tension between Faith and Buffy. And her line to Angel, she's like, I'm just keeping her warm for you, big guy.
Yeah.
Just like, okay.
Yeah, she's flirty with everyone.
Mhm.
And you just get the sense that I wouldn't even say Faith is bisexual. I would say she's pansexual. Like,
Yeah.
she's just up for it.
Yeah.
Whatever it
Like,
is.
That seems
Willow
fair.
says she would be into a fence post or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like she's down.
She's
Yeah.
and she's young. Sometimes it's easy to forget how young she is because she acts so independent and tough. But I mean, she's like 17 or something.
Yeah.
And there's an element to her aggressive sexuality that is naive too.
Yes.
And it's shallow too. It's like sex, it's all about physical attraction and bodies, and she doesn't seem to have any idea about any underlying chemistry, the things that make a relationship, the the intellectual connection, the emotional connections. I don't know that she even knows those things happen. I think she thinks it's all sexual, which is why
But
It's all
she's
transactional.
yeah.
And,
So impressed by Buffy not sleeping with Angel because she literally can't
and
fathom it.
Xander too.
Yeah.
Back then, she's like, really? You've never? And it's just
It's
like,
right there. Like,
Yeah. And because of her age, she's so confident about everything she's doing too that it
Yeah.
just it takes on another level.
It really does make her seem older than she is, but then you can see through it. I can see
Yeah.
through it now watching at the age I am now. I don't know if
You
I could
know-
have seen through it the first time I watched it.
I could not because it reminds me of when I watched Clueless when I was younger and the way that Cher and Dion were talking to Ty. And when I was young, they sounded so, self-assured in what they were talking about. And now that I watch it as I'm older, it's so funny because they're so naive. And I have that same feeling when I watch Faith. And it's just,
And
I
you
don't
could
know.
never
It
tell
makes her
Faith.
more sympathetic to me.
You
Yeah,
could never
for
tell
sure.
her she's being naive, right? She would
No.
react
She's
so badly to that.
worldly and knows
Yeah.
all the things.
Yep.
Ugh,
And to
Faith.
some degree, she's probably just mimicking what she thinks is that, and it's not necessarily her feeling. It's
Yeah.
yeah. But also the fact that it doesn't seem like she attends classes also seems to make her
Oh yeah,
seem
she's
older than
not
the
in.
other kids.
Yeah, she lives in a
Yeah.
motel and
Yeah.
doesn't go to school. So it does
Yep.
make her seem like an adult, but she is not.
Yeah.
The fact that the Watchers Council doesn't think that they should like have her live with Wesley or like they're just like, yeah, let her live in this Fleabag
Yeah.
motel
It's kinda
where
odd.
apparently vampires can come in. I guess the rule is that it's not a home, it's a public accommodation. I've always
Which
been a little
doesn't make any
fuzzy
sense.
on those rules.
It's also kind of like my lawyer brain takes over because technically, if somebody broke into her hotel room and stole stuff, it would be burglary of a habitation because
Yeah.
that's where she's living.
And like, what
But
makes an apartment somebody's home? You've paid money for that for at least a month. So
Yeah, how is that different from a motel room that you are staying in long term?
I think we finally have found the first plot hole in Buffy.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, there's also
it
that
does not make
scene
sense.
in
Yeah.
season 2 when Angelus attacks Jenny Calendar and she's like, "How did you get in here?" And he says, "Oh, there's a sign out front that says we welcome
Yeah.
all who seek knowledge." And I'm like, "But it's a
It's like
school.
it's a school.
He's come in there so many times."
Yeah, like this is that is odd.
That's not a
All
house.
right.
I get it. They did that for the joke, and they weren't
Yeah.
prepared for the micro reading that we would be doing of
Yeah.
the series, 25 years later. But
That's true.
it is an inconsistency about the vampire rules.
Yeah.
Guys.
There's also got to be a degree of just like it's whatever the vampire believes might affect it. So you could throw that in there, and then maybe
Yeah.
the rules don't matter as solidly.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like the
gosh.
cross thing. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason why that should have any effect at all. It's
Yep.
like, does it only work if the vampire was raised Christian? Like, what about vampires that are like 2,500 years old and existed before the time of
Before
Christ?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, crosses work on them? Like, I don't get it. And if it's a Jewish vampire, do you use a Star of David? Like, how do you? It doesn't. It
I
doesn't
love
go
that
together.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to have like different religious symbols for each religion, just depending on what type of vampire
Yeah,
you're
that should be the
into.
necklace, everybody. Instead
Yeah.
of just the cross, it's like
You have one of
everything.
those
All of them.
coexist.
The
Yeah,
coexist
yeah, the
stickers.
coexist.
Yeah.
You just put the bumper sticker on and you're vampire
You're
immune.
covered.
There is some romantic comedy
Perfect.
movie that I saw where there's a guy at a bar and he's trying to pick up women and he's using the "What's your sign?" line, and the woman, whatever sign she says, he like goes into his neck and like pulls, like sifts through different necklaces and pulls out that sign necklace, and he's like, "Me too."
What a
And
coincidence.
yeah, so I picture like a slayer carrying a bunch of different religious artifacts and trying them, and
I like
oh,
it.
the cross isn't working. Are you
Yeah,
Jewish?
just like, hold on,
Yeah.
hold
Look
on.
at the Star of David. Oh, that's not working either. How about
So imagine
What if they
the
were an atheist?
yeah,
Yeah.
and the vampire being like, "You can't ask me that. It's
Yeah,
2020. What's
I
going
know.
on?"
Yeah,
That's
what
when
is
you
this?
pull out the
Hobbit of you?
garlic.
Yeah, yeah, the
So
garlic.
it's fine.
I don't know why the
Yeah.
garlic works, but
Ugh, that's so funny. This I'm trying to think. Like, I know I had so many little notes watching this episode because they packed so much into it, but half of it is just me being like, "Oh, that quote was hilarious. I'm
Yeah.
gonna write that down."
yeah.
This is
I
great.
have a bunch of like favorite little moments. There's a fashion story to be told in this episode as well. First of
Yeah.
all, they put Willow in another fuzzy sweater.
Similar to what I'm wearing.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, and it's like urgent orange, right? It's like traffic cone orange under overalls. So she really
Yep.
is dressed like a toddler. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Her fashion is horrible season 3, and then in season 4 it gets both better and worse. And then in season 5 it's like broomstick skirts and
Season 6 Willow outfits are probably my favorite.
yeah, that's probably when her fashion gets the best. Buffy's
Yeah.
fashion is always fantastic from this point on. Like, I think that I read
That's
somewhere
true.
that starting in season 3, Sarah Michelle Gellar started having a lot of influence on the
Oh,
wardrobe for
that's
her
cool.
character. And
That
she
makes
Yeah.
sense.
she wanted Buffy to be more fashionable and more interestingly dressed.
Mhm.
But Faith in that red leather shirt, that is the sexiest of all sexy outfits. Even
It's
though
ridiculous.
it's long sleeved, it's buttoned up, you don't see cleavage really, but like, damn girl, she looks so good.
Distracting. And I remember when the mayor was like, pull your hair out of it. I was like, no. I was
Yeah.
like, it looks good all down and loose and stuff. Leave her alone.
Also, in that scene, I was looking again and I was like, no, you can see all of her face. It's not like she's got like bangs covering her eye or anything. It's all pulled
Mhm.
kind of back. It's
Yeah.
framing her face, not covering it.
Yeah.
Also, do we think that red leather shirt is the same as what Cordelia was wearing, just buttoned up in
It's
what is it, The
similar.
Wish?
Yeah,
Her
The
intro,
Wish.
yeah.
I don't know if it's the same. I'll have to like go and look at the episode like right next to each other
Yeah.
and see, but they're similar. I think the Cordy one
Same vibes.
was a little bit like more
Boxier?
luxurious looking. The Faith one looks like it might be fake leather and it's
That's true. She's
thinner
got
and a little more
leather.
body hugging. Like, I think it's more of a mall purchase, and Cordelia's was like a department store designer purchase. But
Yeah.
for all I know, it's the
That makes
exact same
sense.
shirt.
Curious.
Yeah.
Because that's what I thought of the first time I saw Faith in that outfit.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, she's having her Cordy moment.
Yeah.
The red leather.
It looks so good on her. It's unreal.
Mhm.
Eliza Dushku is magnetic and gorgeous, and I can't get enough of Faith as a character. I think Faith is so deeply interesting, and I remember now watching the series live and being like, screw Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I want to watch Faith the Vampire Slayer. Like, she's so entertaining, and her darkness is so interesting. And I identify with her a little bit in having like kind of a crappy childhood, and and the way that she can't trust people. I'm like, yeah, that's how I was when I was 18. Like, I wouldn't have trusted any of these people, and I would have been suspicious of their motives, and I also would have wanted Buffy's boyfriend. Like, I don't know that she's even all that into Angel. She just wants what Buffy has.
Oh
Yeah.
Her insecurities and jealousy, really, when it comes to Buffy, seem to dominate, honestly.
Yeah.
She can't escape it because every which way she turns, Buffy is doing something a little bit better than her, or getting credit for doing something better than her, or
Which
she
she
has
brings up.
something
I come to Sunnydale.
that
I'm a slayer.
Oh,
I do my
yeah.
job
There it
kicking
is.
ass better than anyone. What do I hear about everywhere I go? Buffy. So I slay. I behave. I do the good little girl routine. And who does everybody thank? Buffy.
That's not my fault.
Everyone always asks, why can't you be more like Buffy? But did anyone ever ask if you could be more like me?
No, I didn't.
You get the Watcher. You get the mom. You get the little Scooby gang. What do I get? Jack squat. This was supposed to be my town.
Faith, listen to me.
Why? So you can impart some special Buffy wisdom, that it? Do you think you're better than me, do you? Say it. You think you're better than me?
I am.
Burn.
Always have been.
Maybe you didn't notice. Angel's with me.
And how'd you get him, Faith? Magic. You cast some sort of spell? Because in the real world, Angel would never touch you, and we both know it. You had to tie me up to beat me. There's a word for people like you, Faith. Loser.
Uh-huh. You're just trying to make me mad, so I'll kill you. I'm too smart for that. Stick around.
Ugh. She's just like, here's a button, push.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
Gosh.
the I am better than you line is sort of a watershed moment for Buffy as well, because she has struggled with feeling competitive with Faith, right? She's like, no, I should be friends with her. I should mentor her. She needs my help. She needs my support. And when she wanted to do better than Faith on those tests, she was like, I'm so shallow. This isn't. And this is a moment of freedom for Buffy to finally be like,
Yeah.
I am better than you. Like,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
she was her biggest supporter. Like, Buffy stood up for her. She gave her multiple chances when everybody else was basically ready to throw in the towel and give up on Faith. And it's kind of satisfying watching her push those buttons,
yeah.
because it's like, you know what? You need to let this go. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, you are the bigger person here. And that moment when she points out that Faith had to use magic to get Angel, you just know that one
And
hit
Faith
deep.
tells on herself so much, because she's like, you know, Buffy's like, I am better than you. And Faith's like, Angel's with me now. And it's like, that's not the measure. Like,
Yeah, that's
Right,
her
yeah.
response. But that also makes sense with her childhood trauma and the way that we've seen her seek validation. It's like, your man wants me now, therefore I'm
I'm the winner.
better.
Yeah,
Like,
I've
that
taken
is
everything
how.
from you that means something to you, so clearly I'm better. And it's like, well, you cheated to get all of those things as
Yeah.
well.
And also,
This
like,
is-
having Angel doesn't make you a better person or a better Slayer. Like,
Yeah.
it's a
No.
false trophy. Also, she doesn't really have him, but it's not a measure of success that somebody wants to like kiss you and sleep with you. Like that's
Yeah.
And also, even if Angel wasn't pretending, she doesn't have Angel, she has Angelus.
yeah.
And like
Very
that's a
different.
very different person, and I think even she admits like, yeah, he'll probably turn on me at some point. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not a win.
No.
Also, what does she mean? Like, is she when she says this was supposed to be my town? Do we think she is talking from her perspective coming in, like she was ready to run shit, basically?
Yeah, I don't really
Because
know because when she did arrive in town, she didn't at the time say she was going to stay. She was like
Yeah.
yeah,
on an adventure, right? She was running
yeah,
away.
and she
Mhm.
knew Buffy was there. Like she knew who Buffy was.
Yeah, so that particular line
like,
doesn't really make sense.
You
But
know, she's a teenager and she was monologuing. She hasn't done it a lot, so
yeah,
you know.
that's
it's-
fine.
you
And she
know.
brings up, you got the mom and you got the friends, and
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
all those things were available for you to join in
Yep.
on, and you ruined it. And it's a self-fulfilling thing that people who are really messed up do, where they're like they push people away, push them away, push them away, push them away, and then the person finally is like, all right, I give up, I'm out, and they're like, see,
Yeah.
I knew you
I
didn't
knew
really
you would
care about me.
leave.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's
just
exactly what
ugh.
she's done, because I mean, Willow turned like sort of got soured on Faith pretty early on, but like Xander was
Mhm.
all in, Buffy was super supportive, Giles was all, he was supportive. Like
Yeah, it
Mhm.
took Faith trying to actually kill Xander for him to be like, "Oh, I was wrong."
yeah.
Like, this is not
And I
good.
bet you there's still a bit of him that's like, maybe she's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I could save her. No, you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can fix her.
Yeah.
No.
No.
You
Don't
never
try.
can. PSA, you never can.
It's not possible.
Also, if you save the person you're trying to save, FYI, they're going to A, resent you for having done it, and B, leave you if they no longer need you to save them. So it's not worth
Yeah.
trying.
Don't do it. Well, that's another thing with Faith. Her reaction to saying, I have Angel now is so teenage.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
for these teenage girls to be like, well, I got the man. Like I got the guy. I could see how that is also, somewhat based in reality, the fact that they're that young. But they're not dealing with very high school things.
Yeah.
You're right.
This is
Yeah.
such an adult situation that
That could
transcends.
potentially lead to the end of the world as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
That'll make you grow up pretty fast, I guess, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
but it
Um,
is so satisfying watching her realize that they've tricked her
I have it. Do you want to
and
hear
they
it?
were
Oh, yeah.
playing her the
Yep.
whole time.
Keep dreaming. No one can stop the ascension. Mayor's got it wired, B. He built this town for demons to feed on, and come graduation day, he's getting paid. And I'll be sitting at his right hand. Assuming he has hands after the transformation, I'm not too clear on that part. And all your little lame-ass friends are gonna be kibbles and bits. Think about that when your boyfriend's cutting into you.
I never knew you had so much rage in you.
What can I say? I'm the world's best actor.
Second best.
I love that. And there's a slow-mo turn.
Mm-hmm.
Graduation day. You think we missed anything?
I think we know everything she knows.
May I say something? Psych.
You played me. You played me!
I feel like Buffy does know she has a lot of rage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also I like the indignation there of the like, how you guys played me? That's how dare you?
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, but you were
I was supposed to
playing...
be doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe you admit that's another thing that people who have like borderline personality, which I think Faith might do, is they are absolutely incensed when somebody does to them what they've done to that person. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I can't believe you would accuse me of lying. And it's like, you lie all the time. Like,
Yeah. You literally have me chained up to a wall and you're talking about killing me.
Yeah, she had just said, think about that while your boyfriend's cutting into you. Like, that is some twisted shit.
Yeah.
And then she's like, how dare you?
Yeah. It's
like, come on.
Maybe I hadn't thought about this before. I hadn't said it out loud, but Faith might be a borderline.
Yeah.
We'll have to ask Sam what she thinks as a psychologist, because borderline personalities are incredibly hard to deal with and complicated.
Yeah.
And Faith is both of those things.
Jeez.
And powerful.
So
yeah. All right, guys. I think that we have sufficiently covered the big reveal of who is our enemy in this episode, and enjoyed the hijinks that ensued from that. So let's move on and start talking about some of the pop, not pop culture references that we saw in the episode.
Oh man. So first up, we've got Faith saying, then Buffy and the Super Friends are gonna, before the mayor cuts her off. And the Super Friends were a group of cartoon heroes back in the 70s and 80s. And the cartoon took on a few different formats, and it included at different points characters like Superman, Wonder Woman, and Wonder Dog.
And the Wonder Twins.
Oh yeah,
that was always my favorite.
We get that reference in a lot of things.
Form of a water spear.
Shape of an eagle. Yeah. Buffy says, so Ascension, possibly not a love-in. A love-in was a 1960s hippie phenomenon, a gathering to demonstrate mutual love or in protest of inhumane policies.
Faith says, I don't want to get all 12-steppy. 12-step programs, which originated with Alcoholics Anonymous, are recovery programs consisting of 12 progressive steps towards full recovery. They usually deal with an addiction of some sort.
12-steppy.
12-steppy.
That's fun. And then when Buffy is talking about Faith and she says the girl makes Godot look punctual, this is a reference to Waiting for Godot, a play by Samuel Beckett, first published back in 1952, and it consists of conversations between characters Vladimir and Estragon, who are waiting for the arrival of the mysterious Godot, who continually sends word that he will appear but never actually does.
The mayor says, not that I read much poetry, except for those little ones in the Reader's Digest. Reader's Digest is a monthly magazine featuring a wide variety of articles, including little jokes, quotes, and poetry. You have probably seen Reader's Digest at your doctor's office. They're probably issues from the 80s, and they're all yellowed and old.
Or in a bathroom.
That bit of trivia is probably for our younger millennials or Gen Z listeners, if they're out there. Oh, man.
Faith, regarding the Ascension, says, and all your little lame-ass friends are going to be Kibbles and Bits. Kibbles and Bits is a dog food made by Heinz Pet Foods. That's right, a subsidiary of the same company that makes your favorite ketchup.
Well, I guess Heinz is probably not my favorite ketchup.
Oh.
Not bad, though.
You sure you want to say that live?
I know.
Well, they're listening.
They have ears everywhere.
Moving on to trivia. In Enemies, Cordelia asks Wesley if he ever thought of doing books on tape. In real life, Charisma Carpenter did the voices for the Buffy audiobook Immortal. She also played a major role in the recent Slayers, a Buffyverse story audiobook series with Audible.
That's cool that she did the voice. I wonder if I haven't listened to it. I'm curious if it was like told from the perspective of Cordelia, or they just used charisma.
I've listened to some of it. She is a major character, Cordelia.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
This conversation between Buffy and Willow was deleted from the episode Enemies. Buffy. I can't stop thinking about that demon. Willow. Because of him being chopped up into little bits and all? Buffy. Yeah, well, let's keep bringing on the visuals.
I can hear that between them perfectly in my
Yeah.
Elijah Dushku was committed to doing her own stunts and as much of her own fighting as possible. And she was quoted saying, "Day one, I did about 2 punches, and I've learned as I go on. From the Enemies episode with Angel, we did most of our own stunts. Me and David have a sick love for fighting. We don't mind coming home with bruises. I love me personally watching the show and my friends knowing it is me. I always want to do my own stunts." And then Jeff Pruitt, Buffy's stunt coordinator, said, "But we let Eliza do some blocking and hitting because she's so enthusiastic. Before she started the show, I had her watch Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and some old samurai movies to see their expressions when they slam some guy against the wall. Then we practiced in front of a mirror with some ducking and yelling. Now she gets a big kick out of it." I love that.
That's fantastic.
It sounds like they were afraid of her.
I know.
They were like, just let her do it. She'll stop hitting us.
A line of Wesley's in Enemies, cut for length, was, "You failed in last night's mission because you lacked faith. If you had simply lacked faith." A pun from me. Bet you never thought I had the funny in me, eh? I'm glad they cut that.
Lord. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cringy.
Faith was originally supposed to kiss Buffy on the lips, which it does feel like there's some passion in that scene.
Yeah.
I bet the WB was like, nah, let's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They probably filmed it both ways and then the
Yeah.
network.
Save Sarah Michelle's kissing for Cruel Intentions.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, oh, that kiss. Anyway, when the mayor suggests miniature golf to take her mind off of her troubles, Eliza Dushku's laughing at the absurdity of it was not scripted.
Huh, that's
So that
great.
was her genuine reaction. That's fantastic.
The shaman's spell is in Arabic, translated to, "O demon, your soul stay no more."
Interesting.
Eliza Dushku recalled that during one take of Faith kissing Angel, she pierced her tongue on David Boreanaz's fake vampire teeth.
Damn. That was a real kiss then.
Yeah.
That was some intense kissing. You just got all the kissing ones, Randy. I love this one too. So did the voice of the horn demon Skylar sound familiar? Michael Menasseri, who played the demon, portrayed Wyatt on the TV series Weird Science.
Oh.
I was wondering who was under the makeup.
Yeah.
Yep. Makes sense.
All right, guys.
Man.
It's time. Does it still slay? Randy, you're first.
Yeah, I think it still slays. I think this is just packed with a lot of like really cool kind of hints at lore and like the overall giant story that is the Buffyverse. So yeah, it still slays.
Kara?
I agree. This is such a good episode. And it's not one that I particularly enjoy rewatching sometimes just because of the Faith and Angel stuff, but it has such important developments for the plot and some excellent quippy lines. So definitely still slays.
Well, that's a hat trick because I also agree that it still slays. So we again find ourselves in complete agreement about slayage, and that's fantastic. And completely predictable. All right, so now it is time to take a break, head over to the Bronze, get some, near beer, and
need to change, look a little more
wings.
put together for the Bronze. Yeah.
Listen
like
to
you
some
and
cool
Willow
music.
can sit together with your
fuzzy sweaters. Yeah. Let's hear what our listeners had to say.
Bronze things of bronze.
So first up, we have an email from Piotr, and he says, "Dear fellow Slayerettes, I am so excited about Enemies that I wrote this feedback 2 weeks ahead. I see Enemies as part 2 of Consequences and as a pivotal episode in Faith's journey to the dark side. Both of these episodes highlight the important aspect of Buffy's strength that comes not only from her superhuman abilities, but most importantly from her very much regular human connections, her friend and family network that serves as an emotional support system, as well as a powerful strategic asset. Faith greatly underestimated this aspect while at the same time being constantly envious of Buffy's connections and failed miserably both here and in Consequences. I'm trying to remember what is the name of this sort of plot device used in this episode, and I feel like I've seen a similar one somewhere. Any ideas? Mystery novels? I could see.
Write
similar
in, listeners. Let us know.
Yeah. It seems to me that the covert Operation Psych was plotted only between Buffy, Angel, and Giles. It's one of the tropes when the main characters don't clue their allies in because, as they claim, it could make them act unnatural. I think this act was particularly convincing for Xander, who received a real punch in the face from Angel. The good bruise, I love that. I think it's safe to assume the line, "that guy just bugs me," wasn't entirely a lie, but I have to say I'm not liking the "he had it coming" excuse for any assault. You're a better person than I am, Piotr, because I loved it. Oh, man. I think it may have been Willow who set the Operation Psych in motion by being a good friend and urging Buffy to talk to Angel instead of being dodgy. I love that. Now let's write some fan fiction, shall we? I think the way it all unfolded behind the scenes went something like this. So Buffy, urged by Willow, goes to Angel. Thank you, Willow. And Randy, you can be Angel, and Penny, you can be Buffy.
Yay!
All right. Let's see, Angel, brooding. Buffy.
In your pink fuzzy sweater. It's so good.
Perfect.
Buffy, I missed you last night.
I saw you with Faith, so I bailed.
She came to me for help. I tried my best to comfort her, but it occurred to me she had a hidden agenda behind the "I'm scared of what I've become" act. She was trying to kiss me, only she seemed to be acting it out as if someone had told her to do it. I think she intended for me to lose my soul.
But why in the world would she want that to happen? And my God, why would she think true happiness is just about getting bouncy with a leather-wearing mannequin?
Oh my God.
Parentheses, yes, Buffy would really say that in those exact words.
It really isn't. You were the only person who could...
I know. We still need to find out what she's up to. We need Giles.
Giles.
I love it in tandem.
Yeah.
Okay. Had they asked Giles about other possible ways of soul extraction that Faith might resort to? Do I get to play Giles then?
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
Giles cleaning his glasses. I can't do a British accent, so you guys are going to have to deal. As far as I'm aware, there is one way, but it requires extremely potent magic. Fortunately, there is only one sorcerer capable of such a toilsome feat. A chap who owes me a favor. I shall contact him immediately before Faith does. That's great. Then, of course, the sorcerer tells Giles that he was already hired by the mayor to perform a soul removal magic. The mayor! That was the first hint that Faith and the mayor were up to something. I know that the coincidence of contacting the same sorcerer by two different people at the same time has been an issue on various Buffyverse forums, but I think the above fanfiction bit makes it seem more plausible. I enjoy the fact that watching Enemies is satisfying not only on the first watch. Being familiar with true development behind the scenes makes the viewer feel like an insider. There is a moment when Buffy and Giles exchange a look that indicates they know something the others don't, but it can be easily missed on the first watch. Now it feels like I'm exchanging that look with them. Side note, I wonder if Giles really did introduce the sorcerer to his spouse, or was it just a way for him to avoid answering Willow's question? I like it. I demand the backstory for that plotline. Thanks for yet another episode, and I will end with 2 words that will make all your worries go away. Miniature golf.
Thanks, Piotr.
Fantastic.
Excellent email. Please, anyone who wants to send in fan fiction, we will happily act it out. That's so creative and awesome. I could not be happier about that.
I know.
We have one voicemail from our good friend Steve. It's about Doppelganger. So last week's episode or 2 weeks ago, because we took a week off. I'll play that now.
Hello, Still Slaying. This is Steve, and this is becoming a habit for me, missing deadlines and then sending in 2 in a row. So no live Steve for Doppelgangland. I did just watch it, and wow, it's such a funny episode, and it's up there. It's hard to pick a top 5 or a top 10 Buffy episodes because there's so many good ones in there. But this one would definitely be in the range. 3 best moments. Obviously, the little wave by Willow when she's pretending to be Vamp Willow, and she watches and she waves at Spike. I realized this on this watch. She puts her hand like in front of her chest and does it in a way where nobody else will be able to see except Oz unless they're looking directly at her, which I still don't know why nobody noticed. But anyway, Anya eventually figured it out. But yeah, no, the moments that really is. I think those are the best moments for me. Is the Vamp Willow pretending to be Willow and Willow pretending to be Vamp Willow. When she looks down and goes, "Oh, look at those," is great. When Vamp Willow is dealing with Cordelia and she's in that pink jumper and she's just like, "Oh, this is," and you just can see that she is just completely put off by Cordelia and just like, and Cordelia doesn't even notice what she is or what's going on, and then eventually lets her out. But let's see, that's 1, 2, 3. Another best moment had to be Xander at the end going, "Yeah, I'm a badass. Like in your universe, I'm a badass, right?" But unfortunately, the fact that Vamp Willow gets sent back right at the instant when she gets staked is bad, and it's Oz that stakes her. So okay, on to the next episode.
Thanks, Steve.
I do love Willow's little wave.
Yeah, it is so cute. And then Oz has that, his whole face lights up. He's like, "Oh, she's not dead. Like, I don't know what's happening, but this is good news." Yeah.
Oh, man.
Thanks, Steve. We'll look forward to your next live, Steve. All right, that is the end of the main section of the podcast. Stay tuned for the Watcher's Diaries if you want to hear the spoilery discussion.
If you'd like to join the conversation, you can find all our contact information at podcastica.com and in the show notes for each episode. Also at podcastica.com, you'll find links to our social media pages and all our other shows.
We already mentioned
a show.
Welcome to the Apocalypse.
Yeah. I've been listening to that one. It's pretty good. So.
It's really funny and fun.
It is a very fun listen.
Look in the future for coverage of Shōgun. That will be coming out on the Cast of the Rings feed as well as on House Podcastica.
Mm-hmm. I am super excited to listen to the episode about Fallout. Is that just a Zed-Head episode?
No, it's
on the main feed?
It's on The Cast of Us.
Okay. So yesterday, all day, I was going to be productive and my internet was out, but I had happened to download all of Fallout for an anticipated trip. And so I watched all 8 episodes.
Wow.
And it was amazing. Like, I was not expecting to laugh that much, so I am very, very excited to listen to Podcastica's coverage of that. Tide me over until The Last of Us comes back.
That's still sitting on my to-watch list.
Yeah, me too.
And I definitely want to listen to the coverage.
Both of you will enjoy it.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited for it.
A bit. Even if you haven't played the video games. I've watched people play the video games.
Yep.
But it was so good.
Oh, yes.
And if you like what we do, give us a 5-star rating, a review, or a like, follow, and subscribe. We always appreciate it. And tune in next time because we'll be covering Season 3, Episode 18, Earshot. Thanks, everyone, and...
Oh, I know this. It's down by the bus station. Not the nicest part of town.
Again, see? No standards.
I mean, any self-respecting demon should be living in a pit of filth or a nice crypt.
Oh, I love Giles in this episode.
He's so sassy.
It's like demons these days.
All right, that's the end of the non-spoiler section. If you want to avoid spoilers, you should stop listening to us right now. Stop. Okay,
I'm still listening. What are you doing? Stop.
On to the Watcher's Diaries. Spoilery stuff and things.
It's too bad we can't sneak a look at the Watcher Diaries. I'm sure it's full of fun facts to know and tell.
Yeah, that's too bad. That stuff is private.
Also, Giles keeps them in his office, in his personal files.
Most importantly, it would be wrong.
Well, this episode marks the sort of beginning of Act 3 of the whole season, right? We're like, we're in the end game where we know that Faith has turned and is aligned with the mayor. We know that there's something called Ascension and that it's going to happen on graduation day. And it's like, now it's like a race to the end of the season.
Just such a oddly specific date to pick.
Yeah.
I know.
Like, it's not like, oh, it will happen on April the 13th, as it has for many eons. It's like, no, it will happen on graduation day at this high school.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he's just a sucker for attention, because we know he's got a speech. He's like, I want to do... Well, and he obviously also needs to feed pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So what better... Ooh,
it's captive audience and lots of high school kids to eat, and so many great moments are to come this season because he's going to eat Snyder, and it's going to make me really happy.
Fantastic. Well, and the mayor, we've already seen in this episode that he had a letter opener go through his hand, thrown by a vampire, so that's a lot of strength, and it did nothing. He just pulled it out and everything was fine. Anyway, my 12-year-old boy brain started giggling. but the scene that, I don't know if it's in the next episode or a little bit later, I think it's later, when they throw a sword through him.
Oh, we already saw that.
Did we? Good Lord, my
brain.
No,
one of the Balthazar vampires sliced his head in half.
Okay, so I think it's Giles.
Oh, Giles! He doesn't throw the sword; he stabs him.
He stabs him
with the sword. Yeah,
that's right. And the mayor just acts like, "Oh, this is kind of inconvenient," and pulls
like, you ruined my shirt. Yeah.
So it's just so good watching him being so sinister as we're figuring out that he's immortal, and this ascension, even though they don't know a lot of the specifics around it, is clearly something that's very destructive and pretty foreboding. So knowing what's to come, it's just so good. And then obviously it sets up Angel and Buffy kind of going their separate ways, and Angel saying, "Are you still my girl?" and Buffy says, "Always." It does have a bit of finality to it. Like you talked about, it's this inevitability, like, yeah, of course we're stuck in this, but knowing what happens and Angel going off to LA, it feels a little
it's a foreshadowing moment. Because of course, when we were watching this live, we had no idea there was going to be an Angel spinoff and that he was going to leave Buffy. So it just seemed like their relationship had hit this big hurdle, not that it was the beginning of the end for them.
Right? Yeah.
Like,
they were going to get past
things were going too well. We got to throw in some conflict and tension there. And then surprise, he's going off. And then it sets up brilliantly Faith, Buffy, Angel's triangle and the struggles that come up as Angel gets a little bit closer to Faith and tries to help her out. And that instance in Angel where he basically picks Faith momentarily over Buffy, that.
Oh, those episodes are so
Those are rough.
good. The Faith episodes in season 4 Buffy, season 1 or 2 of Angel?
Mhm.
1.
Yeah,
Season 1 of Angel
1.
are gripping. Like,
Mhm.
can't look away. Fantastic episodes. Like, so it's going to be so fun to cover them. I cannot wait.
Oh yeah.
You guys are gonna do back and forth Angel Buffy.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
thinking about it a lot, about how we're gonna cover it. And I think, yeah, we'll go back and forth. And there's somewhere on the internet there's a list of how to watch Buffy and Angel in perfect
Yeah.
chronology. So it won't be an exact back and forth. There's gonna be a couple of times when we do 2 of one of the shows in a row.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
I think that'll make it a little bit easier to follow and
and we'll publish
listen
the
to.
order that we're going to do it in. We'll put that up on podcastica.com so our listeners can follow in the same order. I think a lot of people are doing, Randy, what you're doing. They just listen to us without following along and watching. And
Yeah.
that's what I do for rewatch podcasts as well. Like for the Walking Dead rewatch that they're doing on The Cast of Us, I started out following along with them and then I just couldn't
Same.
wait and I just kept binging ahead.
Yep.
I don't have enough time to rewatch whole shows, but I do have plenty of podcast listening time. So it's sort of like, I want to rewatch this show, so I'm just going to re-listen to somebody watching the show.
Yeah,
It ends up
exactly.
working out.
Yeah.
I have a question. Where do you two listen to podcasts? Like, what's your usual podcast listening time?
Well, for me, it was while I was bottling
Mhm.
at Green Bee, but now it's mostly just in my commute. I haven't found like a good downtime period at work yet for podcast listening, so I've slowed a little bit.
Yeah, my commute is approximately 6 minutes, so I don't get a ton of podcast listening in. But I will make myself, if I want to listen to a new podcast episode that I've been looking forward to, I'll make myself jump on the treadmill and listen to it while I walk or something. Or if I've got a little bit of downtime at work. And mostly, honestly, it's when I'm cleaning. Because I'll have no motivation to clean unless I can put my AirPods in and listen to something that distracts me while I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
I used to listen almost entirely on my commute. I had a commute that was, depending on traffic, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half each way.
Ugh.
And I was going crazy in the car, and it was like
Fair.
horrible traffic. And so I started with comedy podcasts because I was like, I need something to like make this bearable and lighten the mood. And then I discovered a podcast about Battlestar Galactica, and that's how I ended up in the whole TV podcast world. And I don't commute anymore, so for a while I was like, oh, I'm not keeping up with my podcasts, and I listen to them whenever I'm getting ready to go somewhere, like in the shower and like as I'm like getting
the
dressed and stuff.
shower. I don't know how I forgot that. I bought a speaker for the shower specifically to listen to podcasts.
And I take walks on the beach a lot, and a lot of times the podcasts are with me on the beach. And
that sounds nice.
It's funny because it feels like I have friends with me. Like I'm walking on the beach with like, Jonathan and James from Star Wars cast, or like, I have to say, Randy, for Welcome to the Apocalypse, I almost exclusively listen to that with morning coffee. I like to
interesting.
I like to sit in a like really close to this wide open window and feel the morning breeze with my coffee and like listen to a podcast. So
it's like a radio show. I was like, when my internet went out, I was listening to the most recent episode Thursday night because my internet went out, and I was just like, I want to be entertained by something. So I just
it's a little story for your ears.
Listen to that, sip some tea.
Awesome.
Fantastic. All right, that is the complete end of our show. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. We love you. We love having listeners. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. That's a Mike Birbiglia joke. Until next time, I am Penny.
And I'm Randy.
And I'm Kara.
Keep slaying.
You played me. You played me!